So one of the most biggest, important, and probably best things about this game is items. Items in general. Items are what make you stronger. Items are what contribute to what build you're doing. And items are what you trade in order to get better items or items that you need more. So this video is going to be specifically about items, and especially for new players, determining if an item is good or bad. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Don't worry about it. When it comes to items, your Bible is going to be a website called the Ariat Summit. I'll put the link in the description below. That is your Bible for actually anything Diablo 2 related, including recipes, any items that exist in the game that you want to look at if you're building a character or looking for something to make your character stronger, that is like rune words or unique items, so on and so forth. But even basic information is going to be here as well. And so what we need to go over are the different types of items. There are white regular items, normal items, which I call white items, meaning they have no attributes to them. There are magic items, rare items, crafted items, set items, unique items as well. Now specifically in this little guide that I'm going to go over, we're going to be talking about the kind of in between, mostly crafted, rare, magic, and even normal, because obviously unique items are generally kind of GG, which you're not going to have access to. And when you find one, you should know if it's good or not, because a lot of people are going to be talking about them and asking for them. So we're not going to go into unique items, and we're not going to go into rune words either, because those are also at the very end of the spectrum of GG items, in which people are going to be asking. You should know that that's an amazing item just by looking at it, based on the amazing high number and high level of the stats that they have. Now, this website has been slow for the past 6 months for some reason. So if I am navigating slowly, I will have to edit it because I am clicking it. I swear I'm clicking it, and it is just going slow. But as you can see, these rune words, I mean, with all this stuff plus the skills, 290% enhanced damage, they're obviously good items. But what makes a good item? Let's talk about that. So we talked about item rarity, and then we have to talk about item classes. So when we go to normal items, there are 3 different types of classes. There's normal, exceptional, and elite. Generally, normal items drop in normal mode, and we'll use for an example the helmet, a cap, right? Defense 3 to 5. You know, this doesn't even require any strength. It can get up to 2 sockets. In Nightmare, the next level up is called an exceptional helmet. It's going to have the same image. It's going to have, but this one's going to be called a war hat. It's going to have a little bit more defense. In this case, technically a lot. And still gets 2 sockets. It might change for other items, but just so you understand, it's a better item. And then in Hell, you're going to start finding a lot more elite items. So in the case of the helmet we were just looking at, it would be called a Shako. Now this is a white item, not to be confused with the unique Harlequin Crest item, but this is just simply going to have 98 to 100. It's going to have simply 98 to 141 defense. And it's just going to be a better, stronger item. Now, these elite items are a little bit more rarer, and even some of them are more rarer than others. But it's important to know this because one of the most important things and the best thing about this game is that all items hold value, generally. There's going to be white items with value. There's going to be blue items with value. There's going to be yellow or rare items with value. This is to help you determine what has value and what doesn't. For white items specifically, generally most of the case you're going to want elite, the elite class, and very much specifically you're going to want things that have that can add to skills. So class specific items, most of them will actually add to skills specifically for their class. So druid, blood spirits, things like that. These will all give plus to some random druid skill. Now, if you can find a 3-socket one with plus to a very valuable skill that a lot of druids use, such as Cyclone or Tornado. It's Tornado or Twister, one of the two. You're going to have a very nice white item that you can actually trade for. There's a lot more into the white items. I would recommend doing a little bit of research in there. But in a nutshell, they are worth looking at and making sure that if they do have the +3 to a very high wanted skill and can roll to 3 sockets, you do want to keep that and probably trade it. Barbarian Helms can do it. For druids or for paladins, you are actually looking for high resistances. They can get up to 45 on each shield. And if you find a 45 elite paladin shield, especially early on the ladder, you are going to be making a little bit of currency there. Let's see, what else do we have? Necromancers. I don't think there's much use for necromancer stuff. Assassin weapons, definitely. If you can get the lightning sentry, +3 to lightning sentry, you are going to be a happy camper. And then I think paladins get scepters. Yes, for paladins they get scepters. Specifically a catechist, because you can get up to 5 sockets. You want that to have some type of good paladin buff, like a buff skill, not necessarily one they would use, like Holy Shield. And then there's other things like armors that you can make rune words out of. If you can get a good elite armor, such as Dust Shroud. Now notice that these, as the armor goes up, the strength requirement is going up as well. So ideally, depending on what type of rune word people are making with it, you do want to keep the strength at a minimum due to possibly it being a caster that doesn't need a lot of strength. But you also want it to be on the high % of defense. So what I usually say is anything above 450, I keep. If it's a 3-socket or 4-socket, we will keep that. And then there's also something to be said about ethereal items. Ethereal items give you 50% more defense, but they cannot be repaired. They are kind of a faded gray when you see them on the ground. The ethereal items, you actually won't be picking them up off the ground if they're armor. But if you find a armor without any sockets in it, let's say, for example, a Great Hubert, and it's ethereal, right? You can do the cubing recipe to add sockets to it. And there's a bug which gives it way more defense than it's supposed to get when you do that. And then you simply put that on a mercenary. You put the runes in it and then put it on a mercenary, whatever rune word, either fortitude or, whatever's working for you. And I believe e-bugging is still a thing in D2R. They have not said anything besides that. Now, if you're not wondering how to e-bug items, there is a Heraldric Cube section, which it will give you all the recipes you could ever possibly want. And once we get down here a little bit, we will find that in order to add sockets, for example, a body armor, this is your recipe. It is random how many sockets you get, so you could get a bad roll and not get the sockets you need. If you get 2 or 1, it's usually, well, if you get 1, it's definitely no good. But if you get 2 to 4, you can probably find something to do with it, find some rewards to make with it, with a very high defense, because it's going to be what's called e-bugged or ethereal bugged. And yeah, that's it for the white items in a nutshell. Like I said, very, very nutshell. If you have something to add, you can certainly put it in the comments below. But let's talk about both magic and rare items. Now, there are specific items that can roll higher in magic items than anything else. So let's say, for example, magic find. You can find something that'll actually have like 40 to 50% magic find. as a magic item, whereas rare, you'll probably only get up to 20 to 30. That's a very brisk example, but what I'm saying is magic items are going to have less attributes, but those attributes are going to have a higher value. Rare items are going to have way more attributes, but those values are going to be a little bit lower than they would be magic. And crafted is not much. We're not going to talk much about them here, but we'll put them in the same category as rare. What are we looking for when it comes to attributes? There's 4 things that we want to look for when it comes to attributes. And I'll put them in here. It's going to be a second. So the 4 things we want to look for are defense or survivability. That is really small. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Does it look better? And it probably looks better on stream than it does here. Probably. All right, so we have defense or survivability. We also have just damage. And then we have breakpoints. And then miscellaneous. Defense and survivability are going to be things like, I wonder if I can just take a look at the prefixes or suffixes. It's kind of a pain. I'd rather just look at random items. So let's go look at unique items and get a good idea of what we're looking at here. I think amulets should cover almost everything. So defense and survivability. That's going to be things like straight defense, which some items will have. Your armor will have extra defense. There's also things like resistances. That's going to help mitigate damage. There's also damage reduction in general, which I don't know if any of these will have. Damage reduced by 10, perfect. And things like block chance. Is there a block chance amulet? I think there is. Or that's only a crafted amulet. So block chance is another defensive or survival, I would say, stats. And then lastly, stats. Stats in general. +2 vitality, +2 strength, +2 dex. These stats are very important. If you need dex, usually if it's in order to wear gear, if you have to hit a certain amount of dex or strength to wear a piece of gear, then getting an item that adds to that just allows you to end up putting more points into vitality and give you more life in general anyways. As far as damage, we are looking at things like plus to all skills. If you get plus to skills, guess what? Your skills are doing damage. Or more damage. If we're also looking at things that might add specific elemental damage to your attacks, you can, this is specifically for melee attacks, you know, adds 1 to 30 lightning damage. There are other types of elemental damage increases. I don't think there's any on an amulet though. What's a good example? Where is... Come on, website. Let's go, baby. Killing me here. You're fucking killing me. Fucking killing me. Can you please just go? I'm gonna fucking punch a hole through whoever built this website. Thanks. Yeah, I know. Reload. Try it again. Thank you. Okay. So, plus to elemental damage, things like this adds to elemental damage. You may find these on some items. Attack speed in general. Any type of, I mean, I'll just go back. If you're a melee character, attack speed is going to be important. You piece of shit website, I will fuck you in the skull. So attack speed will help your melee attack attacks per second. There is breakpoints to that, which we'll get into later, but in general, if it has attack speed on it, it's probably worth something, especially if it has any of the other things that we mentioned. The more of these attributes that we're going over, the more valuable it's going to be. Faster cast rate is something that will help the casters. It's kind of their version of attack speed, which now I have to go back here. And so faster cast rate is definitely something that all casters are going to want, because there's a huge amount of room for breakpoints there. And also adding damage. You can get pretty much any weapon has it, but obviously if you're finding a rare weapon, the higher enhanced damage it has, the better it is as a weapon. Do I need to show an example of that? I probably would if I knew how to navigate. So yeah, enhanced damage is great for your melee builds. And they really, I mean, if you don't have enhanced damage on the weapon itself, it is going to be useless, because any weapon that is at its base damage, or if it was a white weapon, its white damage, is garbage. So definitely want that. If you're a melee class, attack rating is huge. If you don't have attack rating, you will not hit the enemy. And if you do not hit the enemy, you will not leech from the enemy, you will not kill the enemy, you will die. So attack rating is a huge attribute to find on anything, and these are for any item. Rings, you know, amulets. If you can get just a menage a trois of these stats, you will be able to trade them out, or even keep them to make your own character stronger. Lastly, for damage is going to be things like Crushing Blow, Deadly Strike, and Bleed. Crushing Blow takes a percentage of the enemy's life. So Crushing Blow is kind of just an extra stat, if you will, that gets done through the equation of damage on the side. Crushing Blow is very important for killing bosses with a very high amount of health. Open Wounds is kind of similar to poison damage. It's just damage over time. Bleed, it keeps them from healing, keeps any mob from healing, so it is important also for bosses. Deadly Strike is similar to Critical Strike. It's twice as much damage. These are also mods or attributes that are going to help do damage, but this is all specifically for melee characters, these stats right here. This boots just simply have all three, but you'll find other items can carry these types of things anyways. Next, we want to talk about breakpoints. So what I have here, and I save this, and I'll put this link in the description below as well. But breakpoints are what we've shown before: faster cast rate. Another thing is faster hit recovery, faster block rate, and increased attack speed. And there's also faster run walk. Specifically, I would say the most important are going to be faster cast rate, faster hit recovery, and if you're a melee, attack speed. But faster cast rate and faster hit recovery are probably the two most important, and there are certain breakpoints that you need to hit in order to be able to technically lose a frame, and I'll explain what that means. Let's go look at a sorcerer, since that's very popular, and we'll go with her cast rate, because the faster she casts, the more spells will leave her and enter our enemy, and they will die faster. So when we start wearing items that give us faster cast rate, once you add up all the faster cast rate percentages on all the items we're wearing, you'll get to a number. That number will be, you'll go to a chart like this and see where you lie. If your number is between 52 and 78, you are getting this number right here. You are getting 14 frames. Now, the Diablo 2 Remastered is just a skin over top of the original game, and it does still only run at, what is it, 24 frames, I think? It's a low amount of frames. So even though it looks smooth, it is still operating at the 14, you know, the frames per second rule. It's a 25 frames per second. So what we need to do is, if you get to 52, and let's say you have another ring that gives you, let's say you have another item, and you're at 52 faster cast right now, you just found an item, and that item gives you 10, and now you're at 62. Well, guess what? You might as well switch that item out for something that gives you more defense or something, because until you get to 78, you're still going to be at 14 frames. And I hope that's a good explanation. I don't want to get too far into it, but what I'm saying is everybody's looking to get the highest number here. Everybody's looking to get the higher number. So if you find an item that has faster cash rate on it or faster hit recovery, you are going to want to keep it because people are going to be looking for those types of items so they can hit these breakpoints and get as high as they can in order to max out their survivability. The last thing we have here is miscellaneous. Miscellaneous, I don't even know what to put in here. The only thing I really have is magic find. The chance for you to find more magic items is really all I have for miscellaneous. People, as far as trading and value, it adds value being able to have magic find on an item. So if you have it on there, great. Especially very early, people will be looking for it and trading for it. Now, in general, as a summary, you're going to have to, this is just a very simple guide. As far as all the attributes I went over, you obviously want not just one of those on an item, but as many of those attributes as you can in order to, you know, for rare items that just roll random attributes all the time. If you can find one with many of those attributes that I mentioned, it's probably a good item. And you should probably keep it around. Either keep it to wear it or keep it to trade for it. But that's actually it on this little tidbit of information. Obviously, we can go a lot deeper into it and talk about more things like breakpoints and stuff like that. But in a nutshell, for the newer players, that's it. All right. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Have a good rest of your day. Peace, peace.